All right. This is my first YouTube video. I don't know how many I'll do, but Mom and family, you've wanted me to give my testimony. And so I'm going to put this on my channel on YouTube. And I've been inspired by Justin, who has a channel Locked and Loaded 100%. And he happens to be standing to my right.
I may have convinced him to do his first video.
Little convincing, but I really feel led. Sorry if I don't say everything right, because I am a little bit nervous. It's my first one, and the big thing with me and the Lord is faith in prayer and healing. And when I was 5 years old, I remember distinctly, I was in the back of my mom and dad's car. My sister was in the back seat, and I was laying down. It was late. We were driving home from my parents' family, parents' friends and stuff, and I just felt the power of God on me so strong, and it came from nowhere, and I knew what it was. It was really an outstanding experience as a child. And later on I became saved, baptized, and I became dormant in the Spirit. And 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 7 through 11, I'd like to read those just to preface what I'm going to say, because these are regarding the gifts of the Holy Spirit, and they're very powerful. And the thing is, these were laid out, and they've never been retracted in the Bible anywhere. They're still active today. And I'm going to read this in a King James version. I happen to use a different version, but I'm going to read this, and this starts with like I said, 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Feel free to read it for yourself. In the 7th verse, it says, "But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man profit withal. For one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another the gifts of healing by the same Spirit, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another the discerning of spirits, to another divers kinds of tongues, to another the interpretations of tongues. But all these worketh at one and the same self-Spirit, dividing to every man severally as he will." Sorry, I kind of messed that up a little bit. But I went dormant in high school, late in high school. I played football through college, and that was a really tough time to try to be a Christian, and I became dormant. My mom was a president of a women's group called Women's Glow, and every Saturday, once a month on a Saturday, my mom and dad would come pick me up from my college dorm and take me to this Women's Glow meeting. Now, this was all women, except for one man that was a counselor, and myself, and my dad. There were 3 men there, and probably 75 plus women. The lady gave a really outstanding talk, and at the end, she began using the gift of knowledge, which again is listed here if you want to research it yourself. And she would point people out in the crowd of women and point and say, "You in the plaid dress, you're having an issue with such and such, and the Lord tells me to tell you and give the appropriate response from the Lord." And then she'd say, is that a proper diagnosis of your situation? And the ladies would say yes. And I was sitting there and I said, Lord, you will not point me out in this meeting. I didn't want to be embarrassed because I was afraid of what might be said. And that fear overrode everything. And I got to the point where I said, Lord, if you point me out in this meeting, I'm gone. I don't want to be embarrassed. Well, at the end of the meeting, the lady turned to my mom and said, I'll be right back. And my mom took over the meeting. And this was back in the 70s. And this was in a hotel. And back then they all had game rooms. So what I do at the close of the meetings is I would go to the game room, and I'd play pinball or whatever. And so typically, as usual, I kind of scooted toward the door, and I leave the door from the meeting, and guess who's waiting for me? It was the speaker. She was just leaned up against the wall, standing waiting for me. The Lord knew that she needed to be planted there. And she stepped forward and she said, I could not point you out. And I said, I know. And she said, you're dormant in the spirit. And I said, yes. And she said, the Lord wants me to tell you that because of your faith, you can become a vessel for healing others. And she said, will you accept that? And I said, yes. And she said, okay. And she turned back and went into the meeting. And I went to the game room and stood there. Just stood, astounded. And I was in denial for years about using that. And thanks to Justin and his channel, I've had an outlet to be able to express my faith and been able to pray for people. And again, I don't know how many videos I'll do, but as a start, I wanted people to know where my background is. And I'm very, very touched by it, and I can feel God's power surge through me. I'm human. I sin like everyone else, but I ask forgiveness. And I just wanted to get this out because it's been a long time coming. And I know my mom will see this, and I've had a praying mom, and I've been saved from death at least 2 times and another 3rd time because she was a praying mother. So I just want to say God bless you and walk in faith. Thank you.